Property, plant, and equipment is the term used to classify all tangible non-current assets. Non-current assets are expected to be used during more than one period. They are held for use in the production or supply of goods or services, or for administrative purposes. Some property, plant, and equipment may include land, building, computer hardware, motor vehicles, fixtures and fittings, and others. In the face of the balance sheet, we will aggregate all tangible non-current assets into a single line item, and the notes to the financial statement will provide the detailed breakdown of the property, plant, and equipment. When the entity acquired the non-current asset, it will recognize the net purchase price as part of its cost. Net purchase price includes import duties and purchase taxes that are not recoverable. It will also exclude discounts and rebates from the vendor. If the company incurs any cost directly attributable to bringing the asset to the location and condition necessary for it to operate, this cost would be recognized as part of the asset as well. Some examples are the site preparation costs, initial delivering costs, handling costs, installation costs, assembly costs, testing costs, and professional costs. Lastly, the entity needs to recognize the estimated cost of dismantling, removing, and restoring the site on which the asset is located. After the entity has acquired the non-current asset, it will measure the value of the non-current asset using either the cost model or the revaluation model. The cost model measures the property, plant, and equipment at cost less accumulated depreciation. We have gone through the measurement of initial cost earlier on, so the term foreign to you is probably accumulated depreciation. Depreciation is the systematic allocation of an asset's value over its useful life. To let you better appreciate and understand the rationale of this, let me illustrate something. Assume that I bought a delivery vehicle for $100,000. The statutory lifespan of this vehicle is 10 years, meaning I can drive it on the road for 10 years. When should I recognize the $100,000 as an expense? Do I expense the $100,000 when I bought the vehicle? Or do I expense it 10 years later after I finish using it? Both answers are wrong. An expense is recognized when an item is used up. I will be using the vehicle for the next 10 years. So clearly, it is unreasonable to expense the full $100,000 now or 10 years later at one go. If I use the vehicle for the next 10 years, I will allocate the $100,000 for the next 10 years, meaning expense $10,000 every year for the next 10 years. This is called depreciation. It is more reasonable to expense the $100,000 this way, as it reflects that I am using the vehicle for 10 years. The journal entry to recognize depreciation expense is to debit depreciation expense and to credit accumulated depreciation. Depreciation expense is recognized in the income statement. The classification of depreciation expense depends on how the non-current asset is used. If it is a retail shop or a delivery vehicle, it will be classified as a selling and distribution expense. If it is an office or the equipment and fixtures for an office, it will be classified as a general and administrative expense. Accumulated depreciation is the total depreciation expense charged to the property, plant, and equipment over the years. It is a contra asset account, which decreases the value of the non-current asset. All property, plant, and equipment must be depreciated. Land is an exception because it can be used indefinitely. Non-current assets can be depreciated using a variety of methods. I will be focusing on the straight line method because it is the most straightforward method of calculating depreciation. Depreciation is charged evenly throughout the asset's useful life, which is equal to cost minus residual value divided by useful life. Residual value is the estimated amount that an entity would currently obtain from selling the asset if the asset were of the age and in the condition expected at the end of its useful life. For example, when you sell and scrap your vehicle, you may receive some money from the dealer for selling your vehicle. This is what I mean as residual value, the amount of money you will get from selling the non-current asset. The useful life is the period over which an asset is expected to be available for use by an entity. When the entity sells its property, plant, and equipment, it will enter the following journal entry: debit accumulated depreciation, debit cash by the amount of cash received from the sales, debit or credit sale of property, plant, and equipment, and credit property, plant and equipment. Now I said debit or credit sale of property, plant and equipment. Whether it is a debit or a credit, it depends on the net book value of the property, plant and equipment and the sales amount. The sale of property, plant and equipment is a balancing figure to make the total debits equal total credits. For example, let's say I sold that vehicle costing $100,000 9 years later. The accumulated depreciation is $90,000 and I sold the vehicle for $8,000. In this case, I will debit accumulated depreciation by $90,000, credit property, plant and equipment by $100,000. I am offsetting the accumulated depreciation to the cost to find the net book value. Next, I will debit cash by $8,000 since I received $8,000 from the sale. The total debits does not equal total credits, so I will debit sale of property, plant and equipment by $2,000 to force the journal entry to balance. By debiting sale of property, plant and equipment, it represents a loss on sale. This loss is recognized in the income statement. What if I found a better buyer who bought my vehicle at $12,000 instead? This time, I will debit cash by $12,000. Again, the total debits does not equal total credits, so I will credit sale of property, plant and equipment by $2,000 to force the journal entry to balance. When I credit sale of property, plant and equipment, it represents a gain on sale, which will be recognized in the income statement. Now let's go through the revaluation model. It measures the property, plant and equipment at fair value. Fair value is the price that would be received to sell an asset in an orderly transaction between market participants at the measurement date. Simply put, fair value is the market value. If I own a piece of land with a fair value of $1 million, it means I can sell it for around $1 million in the open market. When an asset's value increases, the increase is recognized in the capital reserve, debit property, plant and equipment, and credit capital reserve. Capital reserve is a reserve account under the equity section. It is not an income. However, if the same asset previously had a devaluation recognized in profit or loss, the increase is recognized in profit or loss to the extent that it reverses the devaluation of the same asset. This would be debit property, plant and equipment and credit revaluation gain. This is an income. On the flip side, when the asset's value decreases, the decrease is recognized in profit or loss, debit revaluation loss, and credit property, plant and equipment. This is an expense. However, if the same asset previously had a revaluation recognized in the capital reserve, the decrease is offsetted against the capital reserve to the extent of any credit balance left in the capital reserve in respect of that asset. The decrease recognized in the capital reserve reduces the reserve account and equity balance. It is not an expense. I will provide two examples to illustrate what I mean. Let's say I bought a piece of land for $1 million. 1 year later, the fair value is $1.1 million. 2 years later, the fair value is $900,000. The journal entry 1 year later is debit land and credit capital reserve by $100,000. 2 years later, the fair value decreased by $200,000 to $900,000, so I will credit land by $200,000. I will not debit revaluation loss first because I have a capital reserve to offset the devaluation. So I will debit capital reserve by $100,000 to reduce the capital reserve to zero. Only after reducing it to zero, I will recognize the remaining as a loss. That is, to debit revaluation loss by $100,000. Next example, like in the previous example, I bought the land for $1 million. 1 year later, the fair value decreased to $900,000. 2 years later, it increased to $1.1 million. The journal entry 1 year later is debit revaluation loss and credit land by $100,000. 2 years later, the fair value increased by $200,000, so I will debit land by $200,000. I will not credit capital reserve yet because I have recognized a revaluation loss of $100,000 in the previous year. I will credit revaluation gain by $100,000 up to the revaluation loss previously recognized. Only after I recognize the revaluation gain equal to the total revaluation loss previously recognized, I will put the remaining into the capital reserve. That is, to credit capital reserve by $100,000.